Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Hank Philippi Ryan, coming to you on this episode of First Chapter Fun. I'm live right now here on Instagram and waiting for Facebook. Let's see, I can check to see if I am live on Facebook. It says I am, and we shall see what happens. Hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. Oh, look, we have some new people. Momfluencer Michelle is here. That's great. Two babes, I love you. And Jen, of course, is here. I'm not sure what's going on Facebook. I hope we are up on Facebook. I'm not seeing that yet. Good, Carol. Thank you. I'm so glad to see that the comments are going on Facebook because, I can't see myself on Facebook. I can only see myself live here on Instagram, and I'm hoping I'm here on Facebook. Let's just see if this is working. Okay, so Hannah's saying it's there. All right, so I trust you all that it's there in both places. Let me just see if I can make this work a little bit better. Is this not fun? The technical part. You'd think that after 73 times, this is episode 73 this morning, we'd be able to actually figure out how this works, but it is never a dull moment. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Carla. This is great to see you all. Hi, Bonar and Glennie. What a wonderful community we have here on Instagram and here on Facebook for First Chapter Fun. So as always, this is episode 73 because it's a Thursday, and at 11:30 a.m. EST on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are live here on First Chapter Fun. I'm Hank Philippi Ryan, who is here today. I'm still trying to figure out Facebook, you all. It's fine. So anyway, I'm vamping to let you all arrive and here is our author of the day, Karma Brown, a marvelous best-selling author who is sharing with us today a really terrific blockbuster #1 best-selling novel. And if you somehow missed it, how did that happen? And this is a perfect time today for you to catch up on Recipe for a Perfect Wife. So speaking of recipes, how are you all doing? Are you all cooking like crazy? I think I've made 125 dinners in a row. I think it's something like that, actually. So I'm getting creative and I'm getting groceries delivered. Are you doing that? At all, and that is never a dull moment. It is, it's kind of great. I'm so grateful for it that people will actually bring us groceries. Very scary to go to the grocery store here. The other day on my list was pita bread, and the delivery person brought tortillas instead, but that's okay. That sounds good. So I experimented and made tortilla pizza by grilling up the tortillas crispy and then putting pizza topping on top of that. Yes, Taya says I've never cooked so much. Yep. Momfluencer says I just found out about this last night from our darling Jenny Milchman, and we are so excited too. Yes, she's great. Carmen, hey, nice to see you. And look, Allie, and the stove broke, Glennie. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I hope not. I hope that's not true. And I hope you're dealing with that somehow. So I made tortilla pizza, and now it is a family favorite just because of grocery store serendipity. So that is how we are all looking for some of the good in this really crazy time. And we do hope, yes, Jen says I do curbside pickup, always interesting. And Hannah says I made blueberry drop biscuits yesterday and bought Black Girl Baking. Yes, I hear that is an amazing book. So yay for your blueberry drop biscuits, yay for my tortilla pizza. And I know Grace, who just joined us on Facebook, you should get to know her. She is a marvelous, incredible, thoughtful, creative cook. And she puts her beautiful meals on Facebook, and you should see that. So anyway, talking about recipes, Hannah Mary McKinnon, my partner in crime here, fictional crime at least, and some other kind of crime, is saying it's the COVID-19 pounds. So that is something that we can talk about someday. So Allie says, now I'm hungry. And yeah, I'm sorry you're distracting me because your comments are also absolutely great. Jen says, I think we would listen to First Recipe Fun, Don't tempt us. Can you imagine how boring it would be, though? Maybe to hear recipes, we could just say, take 1 pound of butter and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, and you'd be like, I don't know. Anyway, good morning, Beth. Good morning, Carmen. Good morning, everybody. Two Babes says hi. Hello, darling. So let me tell you a little bit about the book today. Talking about food now has made us all be hungry, and that is because our book today is Recipe for a Perfect Wife. I hope you are seeing this on Facebook. Could you tell me if you can see this on Facebook? I think I'm holding it up to the camera, but I can't see myself at all. Is it working on Facebook? Yes? No? All right. So this is Recipe for a Perfect Wife. This is the book that we are reading today by Karma Brown. It is a fabulous #1 bestseller. And I want to tell you a little bit about Hannah saying, I loved this book. And yes, I mean, it has, hey, Daisy, Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown that we're reading from today has quite an astonishing voice. And it's interesting because when we're practicing reading the book, some books are really tough to read. They're beautiful on the page, but harder to read out loud. Some of them are just hilariously wonderful to read out loud, and Recipe for a Perfect Wife is one of those, and you will you'll hear that here on Instagram, here on Facebook in a minute. Hi, Kristen. We'll be reading from your Agatha Arch is Afraid of Everything right here on First Chapter Fun coming up. Hi, Debro in Connecticut. Hi, Karma on Instagram now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is really a terrific book, and I want you to hear first about Karma, and then we will, Karma Brown, the author, and then we will read a little bit from the book, and I know you will get hooked on this. I'm going to put my glasses on for this bio so I get it right. Episode 73 of First Chapter Fun. Again, if we get booted from here on Instagram or booted from here on Facebook, it's not you, it's us, and we will come back and reread the chapter on whatever format dumped us, so you won't miss anything. As always, all of these videos are archived on IGTV here on Instagram and in our video archive on Facebook, so you can read from all 73. You can hear all 73 books and dozens more coming up, for which we are thrilled. Hey, Diane. Hey, Jamie. Hope you are well today. Hi, Jill. Anyway, so let's do this, you all, so you can get back to your regular regularly scheduled lives, if there is such a thing anymore. All right, Karma Brown. Let's hear about Karma Brown. Karma has always loved the written word. As a kid, she could usually be found with her face buried in a book or writing stories about ice skating elephants. Ice skating elephants? So leave a note for Karma, leave a comment for Karma about what the heck are ice skating elephants. That is quite a picture. Now that she's mostly grown up, she's the best-selling author of 6 novels, and her debut novel, Come Away With Me, was a Globe and Mail Best 100 Books of 2015. Her other books include The Choices We Make, In This Moment, The Life Lucy Knew, and her latest, Recipe for a Perfect Wife, which is out now. And it's a #1 on the Canadian fiction bestseller list, and it was for a long time. That is amazing. Waving to all of you who are just joining on Instagram. A National Magazine Award-winning journalist, Karma has been published in a variety of publications, including Self, Red Book, Today's Parent, Best Health, Canadian Living, and Chatelaine. So that shows the breadth of her knowledge and curiosity and the brilliance of her writing. Karma says, they are elephants that like to ice skate. Why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's just the simplest answer that there is. Karma lives just outside Toronto, Canada, with her husband, daughter, and a Labradoodle named Fred. So that sounds like a very nice life. And you can visit her, of course, at karmakbrown.com. And we are reading today with her permission and also from Penguin Canada, the publisher of Recipe for a Perfect Life. So we are so grateful for that. And I know we said we'd do a giveaway today, and remind me when we're done, because I want to give Karma the spotlight first. So let's hear a little bit of Recipe for a Perfect Wife. And so let me explain to you a little bit about what you're going to be hearing. Each chapter starts with a quote from someone else, and then goes on to have chapter 1. So there's a tiny bit of a prologue. Well, it's chapter 1 and then chapter 2. I'm going to read those to you because they're quite short and quite wonderful, and I know you will love these. So remember, they start with a quote. And the first quote is from Oscar Wilde, which says, "You seem to forget that I am married, and the one charm of marriage is that it makes life a life of deception absolutely necessary for both parties." So that leads us into the story. Oscar Wilde, that is from The Picture of Dorian Gray from 1890. And here's the beginning of Recipe for a Perfect Wife. It was late in both day and season for planting, but she had no choice in the matter. Her husband hadn't understood the urgency, having never nurtured a garden. Nor did he hold an appreciation for its bounty, and as a result had been gently irritable with her that morning, wishing she would focus on more important tasks instead, of which there were many, as they'd moved in only the week before. It was true, much of the garden could wait. Little happened during these later months as bulbs rested dormant, waiting for the rain and warmth of spring. But this particular plant, with its bell-shaped flowers plentiful, would not be so patient. Besides, it was a gift and came with specific instructions, so there was no alternative but to get it into the ground today. She felt most like herself when she was mucking about in the dirt, singing to and coaxing the buds and leaves. That had been the main reason she loved the house when she first saw it. The garden beds were already prepped, though sparse, and she could envision how they could be transformed into something magnificent. The house itself had felt large and impersonal, especially with its many rooms, considering it was only the two of them. However, they were newlyweds still. Plenty of time to make the house a home, to fill it with children and warmth. Humming a favorite tune, she slid on her gardening gloves as she crouched, and with the trowel dug out a large circle of earth. Into the hole went the plant, which she held carefully with her gloved fingers so as not to crush the amethyst-colored blossoms. She was comforted as she patted the soil around its roots, the stalks standing nice and straight, the flowers already brightening up the garden. There was plenty of work ahead, but she lay down on the soft grass, her hands resting like a pillow under her head, and watched the clouds dance in the blue sky above, excited and ready for all that was to come. So now here's chapter 2, which the epigraph at the beginning says, from William J. Robinson, Married Life and Happiness from 1922. It says, men like a clean house, but fussing about all the time, upsetting the house in order to keep it clean, will drive a man from the house elsewhere. And that's how chapter 2 begins. It says, Alice, May 5th, 2018. When Alice Hale saw the house first, impressive in size, though dilapidated and dreary from neglect, she couldn't have known what it had in store for her. Her first thought was how gargantuan it seemed. The Hales lived in a teeny one-bedroom in Murray Hill, which required shuffling sideways to get past the bed, and featured a bathroom door that grazed your kneecaps when you sat on the toilet. By comparison, this house was a sizable rectangle of symmetrical brick, with shuttered windows on either side of a red door, nestled into a stone archway, the door's paint peeling like skin after a bad sunburn. Reluctance filled Alice as she imagined walking through the door. Welcome to Greenville, Nate and Alice Hale. She could almost hear the house whisper through the mouth-like mail slot in a not at all welcoming tone. This is a place where young urban professionals come to die. The suburb was perfectly lovely, but it wasn't Manhattan. A town a few minutes' drive from the better-known and more exclusive Scarsdale, Greenville was less than an hour's train ride from the city, and yet was an entirely different world. Wide lawns, picket fences, many of them predictably white, sidewalks clean enough to eat off, no sounds of traffic, which made Alice uneasy. Her left eye twitched, likely the result of having barely slept the night before. She had paced their shoebox-size apartment in Murray Hill in the dark, overwhelmed by the sense that this, The house, Greenville, all of it would be a terrible mistake. But things always feel dire in the middle of the night, and by morning her insomnia and worry seemed silly. This was the first house they'd seen, and no one ever bought the first house. Nate took her hand, leading her along the sidewalk to look at the house from the side. She squeezed his fingers, followed his gaze as they walked. "It's nice, right?" he said, and she smiled, hoping the twitching eye wasn't obvious. Taking in the home's facade, the deep cracks in the cement walkway, the graying picket fence that leaned askew, Alice realized why the house was priced the way it was, though still pushing their budget. Especially now that they were living on one paycheck, which had been Alice's doing, and still made her stomach ache with guilt when she thought about it. The house was desperately in need of work, a lot of work, and they hadn't even gone inside yet. She sighed, pressing her fingertips to her eyelid. "This is fine," she thought. "It's going to be fine." "It's a lot of money," she said. "Are you sure we can afford it?" She had grown up with nothing extra, and sometimes not even the basics. The idea of a mortgage terrified her. "We can, I promise," Nate replied. He was a numbers guy and good with money, but she remained hesitant. "It has really good bones," he added, and Alice glanced at him, wondering how they were seeing things so differently. "Classic, too. Don't you love how solid it looks?" Solid. That was what one got for marrying an actuary. "Think the realtor gave us the right address?" If Alice tilted her head just so, it looked as though the house was leaning to the right. Maybe they were in the wrong neighborhood, and this home's in much better shape cousin existed elsewhere. "Oh, she said Greenwich, not Greenville," Nate might say as he reread the email from their realtor. Alice frowned at the eyesore of the front lawn, the lackluster and overgrown grass, wondering what a lawnmower cost. But while everything else seemed unkempt, the flowers that lined the fence, rich pink blooms that looked like they were made from layers of delicate tissue paper, were gorgeous and plentiful, as though they had been tended to only that morning. She tucked her fingers under one of the flowers and leaned in, its perfume intoxicating. 173. Nate looked up from his phone and at the tarnished brass house number. "Yup, this is it." A colonial revival, their realtor Beverly Dixon had said, while Nate and Alice listened on speakerphone the evening before. "Built in the 40s, so it has a few quirks, but with gorgeous detail. Wait until you see the stone archway and the classic layout. This one won't last long, I'm telling you, especially at this price." Nate had looked excited as Beverly went on. Alice knew he felt stifled inside their small apartment with its too few windows, an absence of green space, and the shockingly steep rent. Nate had wanted to move out of the city for as long as she'd known him. He wanted a yard to throw a ball around in with his children, the way he had with his dad, to have songbirds and summer cicadas wake him each morning rather than the delivery trucks. A fixer-upper he could put his stamp on. Having grown up in a Connecticut suburb with still married parents, one of which was a stay-at-home mother, and two siblings as accomplished as he was, Nate's vision of family life was naively rosy. Alice loved their perfectly cozy apartment with a landlord who handled leaky faucets and fresh coats of paint and a new refrigerator when theirs conked out last spring. She wanted to stay living 10 blocks from her best friend, Bronwyn Murphy, whose place Alice escaped to when she needed a break from living in a shoebox with a man. Nate was, to be fair, tidier and more concerned with everything having a place and there being a place for everything than Alice was, but he still had minor shortcomings. Drinking juice straight from the carton. Using her insanely expensive gold-plated tweezers for pulling out nose hairs. Expecting life would give him whatever he wanted, simply because he asked for it. Alice reminded herself she had promised Nate she'd be open-minded, and she wanted to get better at keeping her promises. Not to mention the fact that if they did end up moving to Greenville, Alice had no one to blame but herself. A few minutes before their agreed meeting time, Alexis purred up to the curb and out jumped Beverly Dixon. After grabbing her purse and a folder from the passenger seat, she gently nudged the door shut in a way that told Alice this car was brand new. Beverly locked the door with her key fob twice, and Alice looked around, seeing no one nearby except for a woman pushing a stroller across the street and an elderly gentleman pruning a bush a few doors down. Alice thought back to Beverly's earlier comment about the neighborhood. Crime is non-existent. You'll be able to leave your doors unlocked if you like. Beverly closed the gap between them on 3-inch heels, her body balloon round inside the beige skirt and matching jacket. Her smile was wide and warm, her hand extended a long time before she reached them, heavy gold bracelets jangling. As she smiled at the couple, Alice noticed a smear of pink lipstick on one of Beverly's front teeth. Alice, Nate, Beverly pumped their hands, bracelets clinking like wind chimes. Hope you haven't been waiting long? Nate assured her they hadn't. Alice smiled and stared at Beverly's tooth. A real gem. Beverly was out of breath, a slight wheeze accompanying her words. Shall we head inside? Let's do it, Nate said, still grabbing Alice's hand. She allowed herself to be pulled toward the house, even though all she wanted to do was drive back to the city and slip into her yoga pants and hide in their cramped apartment. Maybe order takeout, laugh about their temporary insanity at considering a move to the suburbs. Heading up the front walkway, Beverly pointed out a few details. Gorgeous stone on that archway. You won't find anything like that anymore. Gorgeous leaded glass. And Alice saw movement out of the corner of her eye. A flutter of curtain from the top left window, as though someone was pushing it to the side. She shielded her eyes with the hand Nate wasn't holding and looked up at the window, but whatever moved was now still. Maybe she'd imagined it. Probably. She was more exhausted than someone who wasn't working should be. Like I said on the phone, the house was built in the 1940s. Now, I know things are a little rough around the edges out here, but nothing a lawn service can't handle. Aren't these peonies stunning? The previous owner had a real green thumb, I hear. What I wouldn't do to have flowers like that in my front yard. A lawn service? Good grief. They were officially going to become one of those couples. The type who desperately wanted plush suburban grass for their kids to play on and for their golden labradoodle to shit on, but couldn't actually take care of it. As they approached the front door, Alice's stomach clenched. She'd had nothing to eat aside from coffee and a handful of stale cereal, but that wasn't why she felt ill. This house and everything it signified, not the least of which was leaving Manhattan, was making her nauseated. Bile coated the back of her throat as Beverly and Nate chattered on about the bones of the house and its unique features, including the original doorbell, which still worked. Nate, oblivious to Alice's disquiet, pressed the bell and laughed delightedly as the tinny chimes echoed behind the red door. Did I tell you? Did I tell you? See, that is really great, really fun to read. And this is, again, Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown. Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown. I am hoping you can see that. I can't see it all, what is on Facebook. But Recipe for a Perfect Wife is what I just read a little bit for you, and it's so perfect. And as Hannah is saying, the quotes at the beginning of the chapters are so outrageous and so portentous and so perfect. And I bet Karma could write a whole essay on how she found those quotes and how she chose them. But they are delicious and delightful, and the recipe for a wonderful novel. So I hope you will look for Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown. And we are so thrilled that Penguin Canada and Karma gave us the permission to read that for you all this morning. Now, before we get to our next book, which is going to be fabulous, and you will hear on Tuesday. Yes, Bonner's saying fun, and Michelle is saying intriguing. Who is behind the curtain? I don't think she imagined it, says J Crows 52 on wherever we are over here, Instagram. Yeah, I mean, it is perfectly suspenseful. And Facebook kicked you out, Beth? Oh no. You're back now, right? So you can come back and read and hear the videos. They're all archived on our video, but I'm glad you're back. So you all, let me just take a moment to say my new book. I know we don't usually talk about our own books, but I'm going to sneak and do that today. My book, The First to Lie, comes out in about 2.5 weeks. So I am now in pre-launch panic, and I have a couple of advanced review copies, of this book, and I wanted to give you a chance. Facebook has me frozen, is that right, Carla? Somebody else says, is that true? If Facebook is frozen, I can't see. Let me go look and see. It looks fine to me. If it's not fine to you, okay, Hannah's saying it hasn't for me. All right, I'm going to keep talking. Hey, Facebook, don't interrupt when I'm trying to give away a book. If a couple or three of you would like to have a review copy of The First to Lie, please message me via Facebook or Instagram. Direct message me for Facebook and Instagram. Can't talk at all. I'm so excited about my book. It got a starred review from Publishers Weekly calling it stellar, and I still have a couple of advance review copies of this that I'd love you to take a look at and maybe read with an eye to a little bit of a review if you love it. So message me via Facebook and Instagram if you are interested, because you are all very special to me, and I want to make sure that you have a chance to read it if you are so inclined. So next Tuesday, we have another wonderful book for you on First Chapter Fun. That will be episode 74, and we will hear from the fabulous Stina Holmes. Can you see this gorgeous cover? Talk about flowers from Recipe for a Perfect Wife. You know how flower-oriented those first 2 chapters are. This is Stina Holmes, The Perfect Secret. A lot of perfection going on today. The Perfect Secret by Stina Holmes. And we will read from that on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, episode 74. Can you hear all the beeps and boops in the background? Hannah Mary McKinnon is saying The Perfect Secret is brilliant, and look at that gorgeous cover. So The Perfect Secret we have on Tuesday. Recipe for a Perfect Wife from today, which I hope you enjoyed hearing as much as I loved reading it to you. Message me if you're interested in a review copy. The cover shoot, Jen says, is from Hank's Garden. That would be nice. Yes, we have lovely tulips every year. We'll talk about that next spring. So I hope you loved it today. I hope you are staying well and staying safe and cooking up your own wonderful recipes. Hannah Mary McKinnon and I are so pleased that you join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. for a brand new book and a brand new chapter and brand new friends and a brand new experience. We're so pleased that you are here. Bring a friend, okay? Bring a friend, and we can grow our community, and that will be wonderful with many wonderful new books to come. So until Tuesday, you know what I'm going to say. Say it with me. Stay safe, stay kind, and we will see you next time. Love you so much.